Now, when we get to chapter 10 in the book, we're going to be looking at correlation studies. And correlation studies involve bivariate data. And what that means is that there's going to be a table, and you're going to be looking at two variables. And when you do that, when you do these sums, you call one variable x and the other variable y. So this would be my table, just like when we did the correlation studies. And so what you could do is you could do the sum of x, which is just adding up the x values. And if I did that, I would get 15. But I could also do the sum of y. So that's why I call one x. If I call the other one y, I'm just doing the same thing, but I'm doing it for these numbers now. And when I do that, I'm going to get 14. And you could do the sum of x squared, the sum of y squared. You could do any of the calculations with either the x numbers or the y numbers. But here's a new calculation we haven't talked about yet. It's the sum of x times y. And what it means here is these are ordered pairs. These two numbers go together, these go together, these go together, these go together. So if I have x times y, what I mean is I multiply the x and the y coordinate together, like that. 7 times 2. And then I have 5 times 1. 2 times 5. 1 times 6. Okay, now I'm going to multiply, I'm going to take the product, x times y. So I get 14 plus 5 plus 10 plus 6. So what I'm doing is I'm multiplying the x and y coordinates together, and then I add. And then again, it's the order of operations. Multiplication comes before addition. So I multiply, and then I add. And then when I do that, I get, this is 35. And then one other one is you could get sum of x times sum of y. And what this means is take these two sums and multiply them together. You could have parentheses around there, but we just know if this is the sum of x and then the sum of y, I'm multiplying the two sums together. And I would get 210. And then there's one other formula, like the other formula that we had before, that involves these sums when you have an x and a y together. And it looks like this. And what it is you're going to take this number, the sum of x times y, in this case 35, and then you're going to subtract the sum of x times the sum of y, okay, which was the 210. And then the n in this case is 4. So n is the number of ordered pairs that you get, that you have. Okay, it's not 8, it's not the number of numbers, it's the number of pairs. So then when I do this, 35 minus 210 divided by 4, and I get a negative 17.5. And by the way, just so you know, of all the sums that we've done, this is the only one, this last formula is the only one that may or may not be negative. All the other ones will end up being positive. Okay, so let's try a daily activity. So you can add this to your other sums if you want. This is some bivariate data. And you are going to calculate these sums. So go ahead and press pause. Okay, you're back here and you got these sums calculated. So let's go ahead and we'll do these. I'll try to write them right here. The sum of x is just 1 plus 3 plus 7 plus 10 plus 14. And when you do that, you get 35. The sum of y, I'm going to just add these. And when I do that, I get 31. And now I don't know if I'm going to get this combination, or the sum of x times y, to fit in there. So let me write it down here. So this is the sum of x times y. So it means take 1 times 10, 3 times 6, 7 times 8, 10 times 5, 14 times 2. Okay, so this would be 10 plus 18 plus 56 plus 50 plus 28. And then you add those together, you get 162. So this is 162. Okay, now this one, it's going to be the 162, the sum of x times y, minus, it's going to be the sum of x times the sum of y, and I haven't multiplied those together yet. So I'll put them up there. Divided by n is the number of ordered pairs. In this case, it's 5. Okay, so putting this last one in my calculator, I get 162 minus 35 times 31 divided by 5. And the calculator knows the order of operations. You will have to learn as we go on how to put things in your calculator. For this, it knows the order of operations, and it will multiply and divide together before it subtracts. And that's what I want it to do. I want it to multiply and then divide by 5, and I want it to get that number before it subtracts from 162. And that's what the calculator is going to do. So if I put it in like that. So in this case, I don't need any parentheses. And I get the answer, and it is negative 55. So this is negative 55.